Radhe Radhe, Namaste, thank you for being here again. Let's keep talking about Krishna and Radharani, our beloved gods. What are we going to talk about today? I would say about love, about service, maybe Shaligram Shila. I'm doing this spontaneously now. Let's talk about Shaligram Shila. So there's basically the big story of Tulsi and Vrinda, which was... How should I start? It's a big story. Well, there's lots of cursing going on, right? One curses the other, and then they have to... Basically, Tulsi, loves Krishna, and then Radharani gets angry. They kind of, together, and then she curses Tulsi to leave, and there's actually one Gopa, Sudhama, who loves Tulsi, and he also has to... And he's offends Radharani, and he also has to leave because he's offending Radharani and protecting Krishna. Krishna, when Krishna and Tulsi were together, after that, and Radharani shouts at Krishna, you again, doing all that, you're not allowed to do that. Krishna stays quiet. He doesn't say anything. He doesn't say anything. And then Sudama comes and protects him and said, you can't, don't be like so harsh with Krishna, and you can't tell that to him, and protects Krishna. And then Radha curses Sudama to leave, and Tulsi as well. And Sudama had a crush on Tulsi anyway, so both of them, he became a demon and she became a beautiful lady, and was born as that. And both of them made like penances, which means like tapasya, like were meditating for thousands of years with fire around them to suffer more and get more pain, and to get a blessing to be with each other, enjoy each other's company. And let me charge the phone. And I think that's actually important. I think that's actually important because it means that to enjoy in this world, you first have to do some work, which means the tapasya. You first have to invest something in it, right? You can't just enjoy. You have to first give something, right? You have to. It's a giving and taking. And I think that's crucial, and this is probably a success secret which we learn from those scriptures. And the first time we actually hear that is from Brahma, which is a creator, like he's a human being, he's a being like us who gets the position of Brahma, which is the creator, and is then kind of born in a lotus flower, right? Which comes from the navel of Vishnu. So he's born in there, and is surrounded by darkness. So he doesn't know anything. He doesn't see anything. So he what he does is climbing down the stem of that lotus to find its end, but he can't find it. Then he goes back, and then he's just I think he's just meditating. He's just sitting down and thinking about. And then the first thing he hears is tapas, which means penance, to make penance. And then he starts meditating, and then after whatever millions of years of billions of years of meditation, he then receives mantras, right? And which mantra does he receive? I think he receives the Gayatri mantra. It's incredible. I mean, that's why it is such a, so it's Om and then the Gayatri mantra. And that's why I think it's such a holy mantra. Because, Brahma had to meditate for 1 billion years to get that. I don't know how long, so incredibly long. More than 1 billion. So that's the level of that mantra. And it came from the flute of Krishna, right? And it came through Saraswati. So she's like a teacher, his teacher. And then when he after he receives that, he realizes everything, then he knows everything. So all the knowledge is in there, in that Om, and in that I think it's a Gayatri mantra that she receives. Then he realizes everything about Krishna, about the universe, about Goloka Vrindavan, which is where Krishna lives, which is beyond our universe. So that's really the spiritual, what we would call the spiritual world of no return. Goloka Vrindavan. Go means again cow. Lok means place. Loka. Like location. So it's a cow world. That's Krishna's place. So, and he's so moved about that, really realizing all that he makes a prayer, which is the Brahma Samhita. Samhita means song. So he creates a song, a prayer, which is, well, at the end it is Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami, which means Govindam, which is Krishna. Go is again cow. I think means the lover of cows. I'm not sure. Govindam. Adi means the highest. Purusham. Purusham is the enjoyer, the highest enjoyer. Tam, you. Aham, I. Bhajami, worship. I worship you. You're the highest enjoyer, I worship you. This is the conclusion of everything. He's the highest enjoyer. He's the highest. And I worship you. That's it. I mean, that's the key conclusion of all what he learned, in that key information. So that's a conclusion, and that's why Brahma Samhita is one of the most important scriptures which we have, as Vaishnavas have, which depicts the whole universe from top to bottom, like how it goes from Krishna and then through the different expansions to Vishnu, the different Vishnus, to the material world, and this creation, Prakriti, which is the nature, which is like material nature, the female creation, and Maya, illusion, all that is and Shiva, the Jyotirlingam, all that is described in the Brahma Samhita. It's the most important scriptures. It's not big, and there's obviously the beautiful song by George Harrison, the Brahma Samhita. So yeah, listen to that, obviously. Beautiful song. What are we talking about? Brahma. Brahma Samhita. So that's a key conclusion. We are worshipping him, and he's the highest. I was talking about tapasya, exactly. We were talking about tapasya. So that and that that's a new, like a success secret. So tapasya was the first word which he heard, Brahma. So to achieve anything, you first have to do tapasya. You have to do penance, which is learning, which is working, which is sacrificing, investing. That's tapasya. Giving, and then you receive. So Tulsi and that what's his name? Shankacuda. Shankacuda was the name of that demon, which was his name was, I forgot now. That Gopa. They were both making penances to, I guess, to get each other to marry each other or get a good partner. And then Brahma came to her and said, "Look, there's this Shankacuda person. Marry him. He's making penances for you. He's a good lover. You're a good match. You're both, the most powerful. These are the most powerful beings. They come directly from Goloka. I mean, of course, they were cursed, but they had their whole complete, powers, knowledge, intelligence. I mean, these are the beyond, right? These are the, and you. I mean, if you read, listen, you can actually. It's on YouTube again. You can listen to the story of Tulsi in English as a hero play. Beautiful and crazy. I mean, it's the most craziest story. The love story. The passion and fight in the end against Shiva. Yeah, he was. I mean, to say stronger than Shiva, it's not about that, but maybe he was stronger than Shiva. But it was like, that's the level of what we're talking here. Those two beings, Tulsi and Shankachuda, they were at the level of Shiva, maybe higher, and he was stronger than Kali. So that's the level of what we're talking here. So and Brahma said, you should marry him. He said to Tulsi, and it's a good thing to do. You're both beautiful, passionate young people. You should marry each other. And she actually played difficult. She said, I think they were talking to each other, so they met. They were talking, and she said, women are only a distraction. They make everybody fall. They are liars. They only want to cheat on everybody. They only, the moment they get bored with one man, they go to the next. She also says that you should just stay away from men, from ladies. You should just, yeah. She is very bad, just talking very bad. Basically, she kind of, said, yeah, you shouldn't marry me, kind of thing. And then, or kind of testing him. I guess she was testing him. And then Brahma showed up again and said, okay, good, look, enough. Once again, he's a good man, you're a good lady, just get married, enough of all that testing and talking, enough chatting, just get on. And it was a Gandarva marriage which they had, which basically means perform love with each other, like physical love. That's the Gandarva marriage. That's what they did. And Brahma says, get on with it now. Enough of this talking wise words. And actually, he answered her, "You're right, but he said you're half right. What you're saying. Some ladies are like that, and some are very." And he says, "Which ones?" And some are very chaste and very, are very good ladies, and like expansions from Radharani and Lakshmi. So some of them are very good, some of them are, as you're saying, like cheaters and only out for their own profit. But So you're not fully right, you're not fully wrong with what you're saying. And Brahma just said, okay, enough of that now, just get, make love, enough of this. Yeah. So they did, and so best I think is you just listen to the story. It's incredible. Like it's described like it's love making of, like, if you mix water and milk, right? It's like they were completely mixed with each other. That's the type of love making they did, and it's in Brahma Vaivart Puran. It's in this hair play. That is, you can read about it. I'm not sure if it's in Shrimad Bhagavatam, but or not in that extent. But it is in Brahma Vaivart Puran, definitely. There it is. Yeah. She actually she wanted to marry Ganesh. That's also another story. She wanted to marry Ganesh, Tulsi. And he was saying, okay, it's all right. I know I'm meditating. I'm not going into this now. It's not my, I guess you're not my type. Well, I mean, she's obviously the most beautiful lady, but he said, I know, I'm not going for this. And she cursed him. I don't remember for what she cursed him. A terrible curse, very terrible curse. And then she was kind of, they were both and he I think he just accepted it and said, okay, fine. Terrible curse. And it's at the end. It's right at the end of Brahma Vaivart Puran. And then they were kind of, how you say, kind of not shyly, but kind of quietly parting their ways. So it's a horrible, horrible curse he gave her. She gave him. And it's also like one, of those things, like in Hinduism, as a man, you're not allowed to say no to a lady if she wants you. Like, if a lady wants you, you have to accept her. And there, Brahma Vaivart Puran is full of such stories where basically, ladies wanted a man for love, to make love. He refused them. And the outcome was bad for the man, very bad. And Brahma was cursed by Mohini. I mean, that's incredible. Mohini is like, I mean, Shiva wanted to see Mohini, right? And I think he went to Vishnu. I'm not sure if he went to Vishnu or to Krishna. And I said, I think he went to Vishnu and said, I want to see Mohini. He was just smiling. He didn't say anything. He just disappeared. And then Shiva was in a forest, and there was a spring wind with beautiful scent and trees, and then he saw Mohini. I think she has a blackish color, like a rain cloud. Dark rain cloud color, and she had she was half naked. She just had a cloth around her, and then she was running around, and he got crazy. He just followed her. he ran after her, and she lost her dress. She was completely nude. And he ran after her. He just lost it, because you have to understand, Mohini is a form of Vishnu, which he used to deceive the demons and get the nectar of immortality from them, right? And the only one who wasn't deceived was Rahu. He wasn't deceived by her, but everybody else, just surrendered to her. So it's it's like an empowered beauty. It's like, you imagine yourself the most beautiful woman, which we can't imagine. Plus, she has a magical power. Like, she's enhanced with that force, that spiritual force of Krishna. Like, it's beyond, right? It's beyond that. It's material beauty, because it's enhanced with spiritual power, which is, So, and Shiva he is like Krishna, like Vishnu, Shiva, but it's compared like if Vishnu is milk, he's like the yogurt. So it's a modification, but it's still, we're supposed to see them as equal. For us they're equal, and Shiva is the biggest devotee of Vishnu and Krishna, but and Radha, and so he was following her, right? He was crazy, and he had he was leaving seed, and the seed was falling on earth and created gold. So out of that seed, gold was created. So the gold we are running after now was created then, in that moment. And that's what we were all working for, is that kind of gold. And Mohini was running around and passing by, so in the sky, passing by saints, like hermitages, and those were saints which were worshipping Shiva, to kind of show them that's your Shiva in his in his weak moment. And also as a kind of wake up, there is one more, there's still Vishnu, there's higher levels. I mean, that's the purpose of that. It's to kind of make you think there's always more. It's the same, in the end we're all one. It's all one, the same, but also different. Like milk and yogurt, there's a difference, and also there's a fraction, like a drop in the ocean. And our philosophy, from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which is in the Bengali language, says achintya, bheda, abheda. Achintya means chit is mind. Achintya means you can't understand with your mind. It's not, we can't grasp it. The mind can't grasp that. It's like beyond the mind. So we are, bheda I think means one, and abheda means not one. So we are one. We are all one. We are all the same. We are all God, Krishna, but are parts and parcels of Him. But we are also separate. We are all separate individuals, right? And that makes it so interesting and sad and difficult and struggling and all that. But also allows a relationship. I mean, it's incredible. It's incredible. We are God, but we are separate from Him and can have a relationship. It's really beautiful. So it's a basis. It's a basis of everything. So so then Shiva kind of relaxed. I mean, he basically spent all his seed, and then he relaxed and came back to his wife and his children. We were watching that, and Vishnu, and he makes a beautiful prayer there, which is worth reading. It's in Shrimad Bhagavatam. So that's a story from Shrimad Bhagavatam. Very beautiful story, of prayer he makes, and it's obviously an embarrassing moment in front of everybody. But it's basically a demonstration. Vishnu is powerful, and it's all of us would that would happen to all of us. You can't we would all do the same. Or most of us. So that was Mohini. So that Mohini also went to Brahma and said, I'm so passionate, I really want to. I mean, she behaves a bit like promiscuous woman. I mean, which is, again, it's one of the Mohini is one of the 10 avatars, I think. No, she's not, I think. But it is an incarnation of, an appearance of Vishnu, right? So I think she's one of the 10 avatars. Das avatar of Vishnu or Krishna. And so she's, after she was, kind of, I think she's a bit, loose, like she's free woman. And she wanted to marry Brahma, she wanted to be with him, and he declined her. And there's a long conversation between the two of them in Brahma Vaivart Puran. She didn't give up, like she insisted, and he controlled all his senses and, focused and, control. And he was shot with all the arrows, and he really, and succeeded in bringing his mind back and said no to her. And she said, nobody will worship you. I'll curse you. Nobody, you're unworshipable. And he said, what? That's not fun. If to be Brahma is like, you're like a god, basically. It's like one of us. It's an achievable position where you are like God, right? Like you're the creator, God. And so there's just one for each universe. But there are many universes, so there are many Brahmas. And there's a nice one, Little Krishna with Brahma. And yeah, so it's not really fun, right? You're God, and then you can't be worshipped by, or you won't be worshipped by anybody because you got cursed by that lady. And yeah, but I think it's like that, like what I kind of notice is there are many stories or many reasons why Brahma is not worshipable. He did some other mistakes. I mean, he was, he's the first creator, so he created the love God, and he created, I think, the wife for the love God. But the love God, Kamadev, Kam means passion. Kamadeva was trying all those, I think he has 5 arrows, sugarcane arrows. He was shooting all of them on Brahma to see if they work. And then he was shot by them, and then he fell in love with, I think, the wife of Kamadeva, which is his own daughter. And I'm not sure that's also in Brahma and in Shrimad Bhagavatam. I'm not quite sure, and you can listen to that, those stories, you can listen to them on the YouTube. I'm not quite sure if he had, I think he did sex with her. And everybody came, all the gods came and said, no, can't do that, it's your daughter. It's like a sin. And he was or maybe he didn't do it, or was about to. And then he was very ashamed about all that. And he gave up his body because of that. He gave it up. And that body, I think because of that sin, became fog, like a dangerous fog. So when you see the fog nowadays, that's the body of Brahma which he gave up, that dangerous body, because of that incest, yeah. And then he took up a new body, and then carried on with his work of creation, yeah. And I think that's another reason why he's unworshipable, because he did that thing. It's a big punishment she got there. He was still able to carry on with his job, but It's a big punishment. I mean, he's losing out on everything. Like, the whole point, I guess, of being God is to be worshipped, and he loses out on that. And I found that always interesting, where it kind of says, look, think twice if you really want to be Brahma. You can be Indra, you can be any of that. Those like gods, like inferior gods. You can be any of those. Do you really want to do that? It takes a huge amount of penance. It's achievable. It takes a huge amount of penance to get there. And then you do a mistake, something happens, and then you lose it all again. Or you lose the fruit of it. The fruit of it is to be worshipped and to get all that. And then you lose it all because, you say no to the lady. So again, he said no to her. Brahma said no to Mohini. She cursed him. And then he went to Vishnu and said, okay, this is what happened. Please help me. I just lost everything. I lost the whole point. I'm unworshipable. It's like, there's no more fun. And he said, look, there's nothing I can do. And that's in Brahma Vaivart Puran. And that's a story which Krishna told to Radharani when they were hiding away from the gopis after doing the Rasa Lila dance. Vishnu just said, look, there's nothing I can do. Women are the fingers of nature. Or they're like the hands of nature, which means the creators. Women are the creators. If you disrespect women, you disrespect nature. And there's nothing, there's nobody can, rescue from that. So as a Hindu, technically you don't have the permission to say no to a lady. If she wants you, you have to satisfy her. You have to sleep with her. You have to give her the children. And there's many examples of that where that has happened, and or not. Oh, read it. It's amazing, beautiful stories. It's worth to read. Believe me. I know it's crazy stuff. So yeah, there's many stories where they did. The men basically obeyed and did it, and many where they didn't. And in both cases there are problems. If you do it, you're in problem. If you don't do it, you're in problem. It's always a problem. But those are the leelas. Those are the plays. I mean, one beautiful story is maybe Hidimbi and Bheem. They're the five Arjun, the five Pandavas, which are the main heroes of the Mahabharata, or the war there, the Kurukshetra war, the only survivors. I mean, one of the few survivors. There are a few more, but the main survivors are the Pandavas, and one of them was Bheem, which is the incarnation of the wind god Vayu, right? And he was the strongest. He was like powerful muscles, and he carried all of them, and he was always hungry. He was the strongest of them. His favorite thing was eating, and then he got approached by. So they were in the forest in the 13 years of exile. And it's just something about the exile, is okay. Anyways, so yeah, so he got approached by Hidimbi, and she was a Rakshasi demoness. So she was a man-eating demoness living in that forest, and she saw him and fell in love, and took a beautiful form. So they're shapeshifters. She took the beautiful form of a immensely beautiful lady, like a goddess, appeared in front of them. So there was the five Pandavas plus their mom Kunti was there, and I assume Draupadi was also there. Their wife Draupadi. So there was one wife for five brothers, another story. But they were 1 year with one man, so they were absolutely not allowed. Like the other man was not allowed, I think it's even to see her. Like she had to be separate for a year, only with that man. Right? There was a very strict separation. She was not allowed to interact with the other ones. And if one of them would come in, like Arjuna once came in, he would lose 1 year with her, right? Which would be terrible. I mean, to lose a year with Draupadi was also the most beautiful black lady. She was black, beautiful black lady. Yeah, the most beautiful. It's like Helena. It's a similar story like the Trojan War, which was fought about Helena, and the war in Kurukshetra, which was essentially fought about Draupadi and her disrespect. She was the cause of the war in the end. Yeah, it was trouble. So anyways, Hidimbi came and said, I want to be with him. I want to be with Bheem. I love him. And I don't remember exactly what the conversation, what they were talking, but I remember that Kunti said, his mom said, look, we're all, we're here in the forest, we're screwed, we're just alone. We need allies, and there will be a war, the war will come. We need allies, go with her, have children, and we will profit from that. And the child, and they went off. She could fly, she took him everywhere, most beautiful places. They had a good time in all the gardens, heavenly gardens, and a shape-shifting demoness, goddess. It's the best you can imagine. It's like beyond. Yeah. So yeah. And she was huge. She was like her original form is a really huge, powerful man-eating demoness, like immensely powerful. And to be loved by such a being, it's like unimaginable. And then she got pregnant, after a while, and gave birth to the son called Gatotkacha. And he was also invincible, like he was the strongest. I think they say he alone could have defeated the whole enemy army, and the enemy army was like, incredibly powerful. But this story I only know from hearing, so I haven't read it. Mahabharata is obviously the longest story, and it's not really it's not a Vrindavan story. So I'm more, I think, Vrindavan focused. So Gatotkacha said, so they were basically meeting up before the war on some hill, and the Pandavas and Krishna and him. And Gatotkacha said, I can shoot an arrow through every single leaf on this tree. I'm so powerful. Or he said, I think he said, just, let me do that war. You guys relax. I'll take over. I'll finish them off. I can do that. I can shoot even an arrow through every single leaf in that tree. And then they said, okay, show us, do it. So he shot an arrow through every single leaf. And then Krishna said, you didn't shoot through all the leaves. And then he said, yeah, you're standing on one of them. And then Krishna said, yeah, well, you lost. Like you didn't hold your promise. Like if you're not shooting through all the leaves, you didn't do what you said. And then he took up his arrow and wanted to shoot Krishna's foot to go into the leaf. And at that point, I think the Pandavas just killed Ghatotkacha for attempting to hurt Krishna, and so they lost Ghatotkacha at that moment. And he gave Bheem the blessing, whenever you call me I will come, and he could fly and everything, so and shapeshift, and so he said, whenever you call me I will come. He was, in that sense, he was how do you call that, in the Bible they call it Nephilim, a Titan. Titan is like a mixed breed of gods and humans. Those are the Titans. So he was a mixed breed in that sense. And actually all of them, like Bheem, Arjuna, like the Pandavas, they were all mixed breed. They were half celestial beings, or I would rather say angels or gods, and or let's say gods. So that they were like devas, half human, and there are many of them. There are many in that time period, and they're incredibly, unbelievably powerful. I would say the biggest, the head of all of them is Bhishma, and he was the son of Ganga the river, Ganges, and I'm not quite sure why she was. I think she was on the planet, and I think that's also a story I just heard, and I think it's in Shrimad Bhagavatam, where she was in the heaven, and one of the kings, there was the wind blowing and lifting up her sari dress, and he could see her breasts and fell in love with her, and had that intense wish, and Brahma saw it and said, okay, he wants you, please, can you both be born on earth? You can't do that here in your relationship, but you can both be born on earth, enjoy each other's company, and make him happy, and then you can come back, please. Which is a very beautiful thing, in a sense that whatever desires you have, it can be accommodated, and Ganga is, in that sense, she's a goddess. She's really, it's a very high level, so it's not like abuse in that sense. It's really, it's a very beautiful thing, in my opinion, that let's say if one of us has an intense wish, it can be accommodated, and so I find that very beautiful, and that Brahma, and he says, okay, look, as a creator, says, fine, he wants you, please, accommodate that, fulfill his wish. So he then, he is then born, I'm not quite sure who that was. He was born as a king, and he met Ganga in the forest, and she says, okay, I'll be your wife on the one condition: you never question any of my actions. And he said, okay, fine, I love you, I need you, fine, whatever. Every child they had together, she threw him every son into the Ganges river, and he then was liberated and went back to the heaven. So those were cursed people, great saints, kind of saints. So I'm not sure if you can, or devas. They were basically what they did. They stole the very precious Surabi cow, which is a magical cow which can fulfill any wish, from a saint, because that's such a powerful cow. And then they got cursed to be born on earth, so they all got born Okay, fine. So yeah, they got all born on Earth, and she then threw them all back into the river. And then at the 8th child, he said, "Okay, enough." Was it the 7th? He said, "Enough." Okay, fine. Why are you doing this? She said, "Okay, I'll tell you, but I'm going to leave." And he said, "Okay, tell me." Those are the 7, devas. They were cursed to be born. I'm liberating them now, so they can go straight back. They're just fulfilling their curse. But this son here, he was the leader of that group who was stealing that cow. And he was cursed to stay on Earth. All of them, they were allowed to leave straight away. This one is cursed to stay. You can have him. No, actually, I will keep him in the forest. I will train him. And then you can have him back when he's trained. And that was Bhishma. He had a different name and he was smaller. And he was trained, grew up with his mom. And one day the king was out hunting. I forgot his name. And he saw a child, a young boy, shooting arrows into the river, into the, I think, Ganges river. And he was shooting so fast that he built I'm not sure quite if it was a wall. I think I understand it in the sense he was it was basically such a flow of arrows that it blocked the river. Like it was a continuous flow of so many arrows that it just continuously keeping the river, right? That was the power of Bhishma. He was the most powerful of all, I would say. Yeah, no, he was the most powerful. Because he had the celestial mother, which was Ganga. So he was a mixed breed, if you like. He just, he had and if you think, he's the only, I'm not sure if I'm right, but I would say he's the only one with a celestial mother, right? He had a human father, but a celestial mother. And I believe that's why he was the most powerful. The others, they had celestial fathers with a human mother, right? But he had a celestial mother. And I think that's why he was the most powerful. I mean, that's just a thought which I had now. And then he took that child and he realized, oh, that's my son, and took him back. And then they were happily living together. But and then his father, he was actually so Bhishma noticed his father was very sad and really devastated. And then he asked, what's wrong, Dad? Why are you not happy? And then he said, I can't tell you who it's private. I can't tell you that. And he continuously, he said, I can't see you like that, Dad. Look, tell me what's going on. I'll do everything. Tell me. And he said, okay. I met a lady, and she's a fisherman's daughter. And she has incredibly good smell because, oh goodness, that's not a story. Because, oh goodness, that's in Shrimad Bhagavatam. She was driving a saint over the river, and that saint realized to stop. It's a great constellation for a child to be conceived, like an amazing child to be conceived. And I don't know who was conceived. And he basically said, look, you have to make love now, and you will have an amazing child, but we have to do it now. And I'll give you the blessing of being a virgin again, and you smell like fish because you're a fisherman's daughter. You will have an amazing smell. And she agreed. She basically agreed. Okay, let's do it. Let's make love. And she gave birth to a child. I don't know who that was. I mean, it's maybe a huge saint. I don't know who that was. Anyways, so she gave birth to that saint. I'm having the thought of Markandeya Rishi. Might be wrong. Markandeya Rishi. He was a huge saint. Maybe it was him. So yeah, I'm basically in love with her. But his dad says I can only marry her, if her sons will be king. He basically knows I already have a son, and her sons will not be king. So the only way I can marry that girl is if her sons become king, and that's not possible. Like, you have to be king, you're powerful, so I can't marry that lady because I can't take you from your right of the throne, basically. And then he said no. Bhishma said, okay, I will not be king. They can be king. Her children can be king. And then her father said, no, that's not enough. I want him not to have children because his children will fight her children, and then then they can't be king anymore. And he said, okay, I will not have children. So then that problem doesn't exist. And then only her sons will have children and continue the king's lineage. I will not have children. And then his dad said, oh, he said, I will not have children. And his dad said, oh, wow, amazing. I can't believe it. As a reward for your sacrifice, I'll give you the blessing that you can choose the time of your death. Basically, you're immortal until you say, okay, now I want to die. And then he was called Bhishma. I mean, the gods were flowering, it was a big thing. The flower was raining. He was the king of Bharat, of India, of the world. He was basically at that time, India was ruling the world. So those were the most powerful kings. I mean, that's beyond anything. And so we're talking 5,000 years ago. 5,000 years. They were beyond powerful. I mean, they had nuclear weapons and everything, Brahmastras, and those. Yeah, it's beyond. So those were world rulers, and he's saying, I will not be the world ruler, and I will not have princes. Right? That's a big thing. So if we carry on with that story, let's carry on. It just flows now naturally. I know I'm jumping around a bit. We were actually talking about ladies and why men have to make love to ladies if she asks for it. But yes, and that actually comes in there again. So that fisherman lady had children with her husband, like that king. And they were weak, sick, and died. Which is very interesting. It's basically the same father having a child with Ganga, which was the most powerful, and with that fisherman lady, which completely, they kind of died. And what was then the story? And then basically there was no. The lineage was finished. Like there were no princes, right? So the family would die out. And then they said, okay, look, Bhishma, you have to make children now, to continue the lineage. And he said, no, I've given my promise. I'm not going to have children. I've received, the blessing of choosing the time of my death, and my word is more important than saving my lineage. If it just, that comes to me now. He's putting his promise of not having children higher than the destruction of his family. Like, his family is screwed. It's finished. It's over. Like, you can say the highest duty of a king is to have offspring to continue the kingdom, because if there's no king, then you have anarchy. There's thieves. There's chaos. There's crime. There's no law and order. That depends on the king. They say it's better to have a bad king who controls the country, keeps it under control, than no king and there's just chaos and crime. So and Bhishma, I'm realizing that now, he refused to have children. And there was actually a lady, which her name I forgot now, who said, I'm in love with you, I want to have babies with you, and he refused her again because of that promise. He just said, no, I'm not going to have children. I've received my blessing. I'm not going to do that. And she said, I'm going to kill you. Which is how you say it? Which is how you call that? On one hand, he gets from his dad the blessing to choose the time of his death, and on the other hand, there's a lady who says, "I'm going to kill you. I will be your death." Right? That's like completely strange. And there again, you see, he was giving. Obviously, my knowledge is limited, and I don't quite know what was his thinking and his motivation. So I haven't read Mahabharata. It's a huge book. Yeah, you're welcome to read that. Maybe you can even listen to it on YouTube. So I'm not quite sure what was his thinking, but I'm just seeing. He gave a promise. He got a huge blessing, which is deciding your death. It's a huge blessing, time of death. He doesn't want to give that up, and he doesn't want to break his word. Keeping his word is more important to him than the destruction of his family, like the lineage, and satisfying that lady, which says, you have to make children with me. Says, no, I'm going to kill you if you don't. And he can't see, and so there's always that balance, you get and you lose, and that's what you see throughout those stories. And the conclusion from that is all, it's not worth it. It's like there's always something higher. Go for the higher thing. Don't go for the smaller thing. Go for the higher thing, which is Krishna. We will never be happy in here. There's so much struggle and problems, and you get cursed, and it's not worth it, right? It's not worth it. The tapasya, right? And that's actually going back to Tulsi and Shankachuda, who do this tapasya to marry each other. All that sacrifice, it's not worth. Well, if you do it for your own happiness, it's not worth it, because you were going to lose it. That's really, once again, another saint is it's a Brahma. It's a king who said, I want to become a saint, a Brahman. He's a Raja Brahman. Vishwakarma, no. Vishwarupa, no, that's Vasista. Was it Vasista? No. something with V. There was the one who cursed the children of Krishna to kill each other. You know, again, you know, he but basically, okay, let me, you know, I know there's lots of brackets and things, but there was that, what's his name? That king said, I want to be a Brahmin, I want to be a priest. You know, it's like, it's a caste system. There's like the priests, the kings, the how do you call that, the sellers, like shops, and farmers, Vaishyas, and then the Shudras, the workers, the daily wage workers. So he said, well, I want to be a Brahmin, you know, why can't I? And they said, you can, but you have to do a certain amount of penance again, you know. And he said, okay, I'll do that. I think I think he was a king, and he wanted to, he was stealing that Surabi cow from another, I think from Markandeya Rishi, he was stealing it, and he couldn't. He was trying, he couldn't, because the cow then manifested a huge army, which just destroyed all his own army. And he said, okay, I also want one. I want to be a rishi like you, Brahman, and I will do the meditation and everything. But he kept his nature. You know, kings, they are very aggressive. They get annoyed. So he kept that aggressive nature. So every time he got angry, like he did huge tapasya, penance, get huge blessings, and then he gets angry and curses someone, and he loses everything again, and he has to start all over. And then there's, you know, it's like, I just say, look, okay, it's fine. You know, it's without him, he was necessary to fulfill the Leela of Krishna, you know, bringing his family back to heaven, to Goloka Vrindavan. So they were all necessary. But I think, you know, the conclusion is like, you can't break it. You can't break the game. You can't. There's no cheating or like overcoming it, right? And even if you get the blessing of choosing your time of death, still, you know, it doesn't help you really. It didn't help him. Not much. So, yeah, Bhishma refused to have children, got basically a lady who promised, I'm going to kill you. And what else? Yeah, fine. And then they had to sort it out, like, you know, how do we make children now for the lineage? And so they were basically, I forgot why. I think that king has died. That's why he couldn't make children now. But so they're basically the two queens, right? Which was so which queen was there? There was a fisherman's queen was there. But I mean, he had two queens. That king. So the Bhishma's father. No. It was the queens of his sons which have died. They were left, yes. So those two queens were there. And somebody had to make children with them to continue the lineage. Incredible, isn't it? They were basically married to his son or sons which have died. And now those married women are continuing the lineage and heritage of the ruler of the world. I mean, they don't even, they're just married. It's incredible if you think about it. How, I mean, that tells something about the power of marriage, you know, the significance of marriage. That a married woman, which was married into the family, even if the husband dies, she can continue the lineage. And in this case, I mean, it was maybe another age. I don't think that's allowed to do nowadays in Kali Yuga. So basically what they did, they were asking a saint to come and make children with those two queens to continue the lineage. So that was a possible practice at the time, where basically even if a king wasn't able to have children, or he wanted very good special children, he asked the saint to come and then conceive kind of superheroes. And because they had like special powers, those saints at the time, they did like huge tapasya, and then he basically asked, the king would then ask to that saint to have children with his wives. And so if I'm right, they were asking the saint oh goodness, what's his name now? To conceive the children. The one who wrote Shrimad Bhagavatam and all the Mahabharata and scriptures. And he came straight from the forest, like he was kind of full of, dirt and from moss and stuff growing on him. Terrible, long hair and just terrible appearance. So, and then he was led into the chamber of the first queen of I think it was of the sons of that king, like the half brothers of Bhishma. And she just had to, she closed her eyes, she couldn't look at him. And so they had love together, and then he said, your son will be blind because you closed your eyes. And I think maybe he even gave the name, Dhritarashtra was the name of that son. He was basically, I think but I'm saying that now, that's not official, but I would consider him a demon. So he was a demon king, a terrible, bad demon king. And then with the second wife, and he came in, she became pale looking at him. And then they also had love, and he said, your son will be pale like you, and he will be known as Pandu, and that's why the Pandavas are the children of Pandu, the 5 sons. And then he had one more child with the servant lady. She was a Shudra, like a servant, the lowest caste, and she was very humble. She was very nice, and she said, because you're so nice, your son will be world famous for his niceness, his humbleness, and he will advise the family. He will be a family advisor. And he was Vidur, and he was a hugest devotee of Krishna. And he was a Shudra. He was considered a Shudra. He wasn't able to be qualified to be king because of his mom. And he was the advisor, like an uncle to the Pandavas, and they're very nice, and a great devotee of Krishna. Like before the Mahabharata war, Krishna went to his house to have dinner, and his Vidura's wife, Viduri, I think is her name. She was basically, Krishna came and was shouting kind of sister-in-law or something like that, and she knew only Krishna calls her like that. She went mad, and I think she was taking a shower, and I think she was naked, and she just ran out, and he was feeding him bananas, She was just out of her mind. She was just feeding him bananas. She was looking at him. But she threw away the bananas and gave him the banana peels. And Krishna was eating the banana peels which she gave him and enjoying it. Because that was pure love, right? It's just his devotee, waiting for so many years, and then Krishna's coming and she's feeding him the banana peels and he's eating them. And then her husband comes home, Vidur, and says, "What are you doing? You're feeding him the banana peels." And obviously, he's ruining the moment. He's ruining the most beautiful moment. I mean, Krishna receiving those banana peels of his devotee. And then, even that moment gets ruined. See, even Krishna is not allowed to enjoy. He's not allowed to enjoy. Like, his most beautiful moments get ruined like this. The other beautiful moment which got ruined for him was when his friend he had his friend, they were very poor Brahmins, right? A childhood friend. Like, as children they were hiding in the tree in the forest during a thunderstorm overnight. That close, Krishna and him, that close were there. And his wife said, "Look, we have so many children, we don't have food. I can be hungry, but our children can't. You have to go to Krishna and ask for food. Like, we can't carry on like that." So he went. He said, "Okay, guys, fine." And she said, "Look here, take this broken rice. That's all we have left. Bring it to Krishna as a gift. Ask him." So he took it to him, to Krishna. And obviously he was ashamed. I mean, Krishna was like a king, right? He was a king then. So Krishna was, he was ashamed. Such a famous story. He was ashamed and said, Krishna said, "What do you have for me? What do you have for me?" And I said, he couldn't say, give it, like, broken rice for a king. It's like, it just felt bad. And then Krishna was searching him and said, "What do you have?" I'm checking him out, touching him, hugging him, going through his, actually he also washed his feet. He was washing, Krishna washed his feet of his friend, that's, Krishna loves doing that. Oh goodness, I know I'm making brackets and brackets. When Yudhishthir, which is the king of the 5 Pandavas, made the hugest sacrifice, the Rajasuya sacrifice, to be king, like to be world emperor. Basically, to be world emperor, you have to make a certain sacrifice where you and then everybody got invited for that. That was the main sacrifice. It was like for him it was the offering of a lifetime, and probably of the last whatever 100,000 years, that's the biggest sacrifice. And everybody did a job there, right? Everybody did something. And what was Krishna's job? What did he do there? Krishna took upon himself the work of washing the feet of all the people who came. That was his job. He washed everybody's feet. That's incredible. See, this is our Krishna. This is our Krishna. This is our God. That's his mindset. That's his heart. That's what he is about. That's who we worship. That's our Krishna. Learn from that. These are the key things to understand who is Krishna. To see what is he doing, which jobs is he taking up. he's a cowherd. He's a cow protector. He loves cows. He's looking after the gopis. He's also a king. He's a protector. He's a well-wisher. He's a dancer. He washes the feet. He looks after his devotees. That's Krishna. That's our Krishna. He sends the dress for Draupadi when she gets undressed, so that she can keep her dignity and is not ashamed naked in front of all the demon kings. And that's our Krishna. So again, Krishna was searching his friend for his gift, and then he found the broken rice and said, "Oh wow, you brought me that rice." And he started eating that rice, and so he had one bite of it, and that was the most blissful thing for him, to eat his dearest devotees and friends broken rice. That was the most delicious thing for him to eat. And then he takes a second bite of that rice which his friend was bringing him, and then Lakshmi came and holds his hand and says, "No." Was it Rukmini? I think it was Rukmini. She said, "No, you can't have another bite of this, because with that first bite you already owe him more than we have, right? You already owe him everything with this first bite. And with the second bite, basically we can't afford that. Rukmini is Lakshmi. It's wealth personified. We can't afford that. You can't have another bite." She stopped him of eating another bite of that rice. He wasn't allowed. They couldn't afford it. Krishna could not afford another bite of his devotees' rice. You see? That's love, that's bhakti, that's the value of that. And that's what Krishna wants us to do. He wants us to offer him rice. That's what he wants. That's what this whole thing is about. So I'm winding back. Yes, Viduri, feeding him the banana peels, it's the same thing. That's what he wants. He wants the love. It's about the love. It's only about that. Let's just make the brackets about love. Once Krishna had headaches, Narada Muni came to him. He's like the saint who flies everywhere. And Krishna said, "I'm not well, I have headaches." I think this is also a story I heard. I'm not quite sure from where it is. It could be Shrimad Bhagavatam. I think it's Shrimad Bhagavatam. And then Narada Muni said, "Okay, what do you need? What can I do for you? How can we treat this?" And he said, "No, it's not possible to treat that. My headache, only the dust, the dirt of the feet of my devotees can heal that." And so she said, no problem. I go to your wives. I will ask them. They will give me their dust, and I'll bring you. He went to their wives. They all refused. They said, "If we give the dust from our feet to Krishna, we will go straight to hell. And no, that's not for us. We can't risk that. We're not going there." So he said, "Okay." I think he asked many different people. I guess he asked. I'm not sure if he asked other people, but they refused. So then he went to the gopis in Vrindavan, and he said, Krishna is having headaches. The only thing which will heal him is the dust from your feet. And they immediately started collecting and bringing him and doing everything and said, no, we can't, yeah. And then Narada Muni said, you know, you will go to hell for this. And like, you can't, you know, basically give your dirt to God, you know, you will go to hell for this. And they said, we don't care, like, you know, we can go to hell, but we can't see him suffering. We can't see that. We will do everything. We will go to hell, but we can't see him suffering. That's again the love. That's the love of his devotees. And you know, it made me just think now of a person in my life who loves me a lot and who's saying such things like she would, you know, do everything to be with me and go through hell, I guess, to be with me. It makes me think now. It just, you know, it's a thought again which came. You know, it's a precious thing. And at the moment I'm very strict with her. I'm a bit disappointed and feel a bit well exploited by her. So, but I also remember, you know, I was like, when I was with her, I was crying a lot, hugging her, because I knew, you know, there will be a separation, like because of the distance, like we will not be together because of the distance. And I was crying a lot, and that made me made me think, this is the love Krishna has for Radharani, where he's crying while being with her because he knows there will be a separation, right? Because of the circumstances. He will not be able to be with her. So while being together with her, he cries. And that's the craziest love, right? Where you cry while being with your beloved. And I had that with that lady. And I was thinking, this is what Krishna feels with his lady. With his Radha, right? And the thing with her was, like, you know, we had like very, what I would call spontaneous love. And Kama Sutra says, you know, you can read all that book, and it's, you know, it's good. It's very helpful. It's a very good thing to read, Kama Sutra. And Kama Sutra is written by Nandi, which is the white bull of Shiva. And Nandi is actually an incarnation of Vishnu to rescue Shiva. Once Shiva, I think, was falling down for some reason, and then Nandi came to rescue him. So Vishnu came in the form of Nandi, and he wrote the Kama Sutra. And the celestial version of Kama Sutra is like, I don't know, 100,000 verses, like huge amount of text. And we have a reduced version here on Earth. And Kama Sutra says, you know, the highest thing is spontaneous love. And you can spontaneous love each other. Then you don't need all those rules and techniques and processes how you do the love. Then you just play with each other spontaneously. And that's the highest level of love, right? The spontaneous love. And that's what I felt with her. That's what I had with her. And okay, let's talk about that. Okay, we had crazy love together. Very, very crazy. Like I never had it before with anybody. And I was listening to, you know, there's a so-called red pill movement of men. It's also connected with MGTOW, which is men going their own way. Basically, men disappointed with ladies and kind of giving up on ladies. And they're saying there's a pickup artists, like men who had lots of women in their life, like very experienced professionals with women. And they're saying, and actually they said like they were talking to each other and saying the best women they were with were the craziest, like mentally sickest, craziest women. And they all agreed on that. The best women they ever were together with were the craziest. Because they give themselves and they just do crazy things with them, and they're like, maybe needy and crazy and just like drug addicts getting a cocaine shot, right? It's like, they're just crazy women. Crazy love making. So that's a bit also what I thought about her. Like she has she has basically trust issues. And I think it goes back. She had to leave her father at a young age. I don't know, maybe age 15. Because they were on the countryside and I think he couldn't look really after her and it was a bad environment. And I don't know, I think something bad happened there. Something traumatic happened. And she left him and went to the city from the countryside. And then she was living with her older brother, who was very strict, like in a good sense with her, like protected her. But his new lady, so he had, I think, children with 3 ladies, and then the third was against her, that lady, and she had to leave. And I think at that time she also had kind of her first boy, or her first and only boyfriend, and she was kind of exploited there, I think. I mean, I have to say, he was still kind of nice, as he describes him. He was a nice guy, young guy, kind of a little bit, not really demanding for things from her, but kind of, still slightly exploited, I would say. Maybe not really exploited. I think she also, gave herself to him. And it just, had to happen. But then he had an affair with another lady, and she blocked him completely and didn't want to know anything about him. It broke her heart. And so she had 3 times experienced distrust in men: her father, her brother, that boyfriend. And then I'm coming, right? And she was amazing. Like, I was obsessed with her. And she also had that trust issue, and she was like, it was like cold and hot. She was like very nice and very cold. And that messes up every mind. Like in animal experiments, they make that with rats. They make them obsessed. They do the same behavior, and once they get a reward, and once they get a punishment. And that messes them up completely, like nothing. And now I'm thinking, this is a bit what's going on here in this world. You do your job. You always do. You're always a nice guy. You always do everything. Sometimes the result is great. Sometimes you have to suffer. Right? That's exactly what's going on here, and that's why Krishna says. That messes everybody up. Right? That's why we're all messed up. I mean, let's say a banker. One time he makes huge profit, the other time his bank goes bankrupt because he's just lost everything in a investing bubble, right? He does the same thing, and he gets bonuses. There's a carrot of bonuses: make profit, make mortgages, give the money, make profit, and he makes huge bonuses. It all works well, There's incentive there. And then suddenly he just carries on doing that. He runs into a bubble, an exploding bubble, recession, crash, and the same behavior leads to his bank going bankrupt. Right? And that's why I'm against incentives, those carrots. You're basically making the lemming, those small lemmings who jump over the cliffs into the ocean. You're basically give a carrot in front of the lemming and make him chase the cliff even faster. So we all, like all those bankers, we all lemmings with a carrot in front running towards the cliff, and the cliff would be with the next recession. I mean, the next recession is coming, right? So we all those lemmings running towards the next recession, and we're pushed by or even drawn by those carrots, those bonuses and stimulus, and which doesn't make sense in that. It's wrong. It just makes everything worse. So what were we talking about? I have to unwind everything now. So we were about incentives. Yes, Krishna basically says you have to be equal in the good and in the bad. That's Bhagavad Gita. That's basic Bhagavad Gita. You do your job. You continue your behavior. Sometimes you will get a positive reward. Sometimes you'll get a suffering out of it. Don't be distracted or confused by that. It's just how it is. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. Sometimes you get honored, sometimes you get dishonor or blame. Sometimes you get blame and lies. So, but just carry on. So that rat experiment is a bit happening with us, and so that lady did that a bit with me, and I think it was because of her emotional messed up, like she's just not trusting. On one hand she loves me, she's kind of obsessed with me. On the other hand, she can't really give that love because she has fear of being hurt. So it was kind of a crazy thing. And it made me think about her, that rare love, and again that spontaneous love from the Kama Sutra. And let's wind that back. So the Kama Sutra, spontaneous love. What were we talking? I guess we were talking about the friend of Krishna who was giving the rice, and as a reward he received everything. When he came back to his wife, she was in a palace, and she changed into a goddess, and they had everything, right, for that piece of rice. And Rukmini, his wife, Krishna's wife, said, we can't afford another one of those. You have to give him everything. Like, we can't give him, we can't have another bite of that. And then winding back to Viduri, who is feeding him the banana peels, and even that he can't. Krishna can't enjoy that. Gets interrupted by her husband. Those are the best banana, he loves that much more than any sweet or huge dish or anything you could give him. Those banana peels. A small thing there also, like they were eating I guess spinach or some khichdi, some lentils with rice, some simple food, like poor people food they had, or sick people food they had. And then Krishna said, we're just before that war. I still want to celebrate with you and make you happy. So they were eating that simple poor people food, but in their mouth it transformed into their favorite sweets. So they were actually enjoying. Krishna was letting them enjoy those most difficult, impending. It's like a world war, between those families. It was like incredible war, which will destroy everybody. Like the whole family is going to be destroyed in that war. Vidura survives because he can't fight. He's not a warrior caste. He's a servant caste. And the Pandavas survive because they were favored by Krishna. Let's wind it back. So we were talking about about Krishna enjoying, about Gatotkacha getting killed because he wants to hurt Krishna, about Hidimbi, loving Bhima, and then Bhishma, basically, getting a lady wanting to kill him. So the story there was that lady was then reborn as a man, and she was then sitting in front of Arjuna on the chariot. It's kind of a strange thing. And because Bhishma knew she's a lady and he has the honor of a warrior not to fight with ladies, he wasn't fighting that man. So he wasn't throwing arrows or shooting arrows against that direction. And they kind of kept that person, that man, in front of Arjuna to kind of protect him, which is, I think, a bit of a cowardice thing, if you think, to keep a woman on your chariot, a man-woman. But there you go. There you go. That's something Krishna does all the time. All the time. Where he basically says, look, we have to achieve this, and every mean is, we have to use any mean, which means we have to use the mean of having a lady sitting in front of you to protect you from that Bhishma, which is so powerful, who was shooting arrows so fast that it was able to stop a river and block it. And so he was kind of, it basically means, if you look at it, it means Krishna made Arjuna inferior, or he gave Arjuna superior enemies. And then he had to use those tricks, those ladies sitting in front of him, to survive. Which is a cowardice thing to do. And it's, looking at that now, and I'm not an expert, it's my own interpretation. Looking at it, I would say it's a humbling thing. It's basically humbling in the sense of Arjuna was, I'm saying one of the biggest warriors, right? He was one of the, the heroes. Like in the movie Troy. I forgot how that was. Achilles, right? Achilles. He was like an Achilles. He was a warrior. He was the hero. That's Arjuna. So the Achilles of the Kurukshetra war was Arjuna, I would say. I hope I get it right, but I don't remember on which side Achilles was, and I guess he was on the side of the Trojans, isn't it? So, yeah. So Arjuna was using those tricks to survive, to kind of, which is humbling. So Krishna actually wanted him to wanted to humble him, and it's always about that. To humble, Krishna always humbles his devotees. So that will happen to us, right? To all of us. We all will get humbled. The gopis got humbled. Arjuna was humbled by having superior enemies. Bheem was humbled one time. I think that was after the war. In the forest, there was a monkey who put his tail over the road. And Bheem was, always respectful to the monkey and was trying to lift up the tail to put it away so that he can pass or through. But when he tried to lift that tail, and Bheem was the strongest. He had like the biggest muscles of all of them. When he was trying to lift up that tail, he couldn't. And he was the strongest hero. Like, he had the biggest muscles, everything. He was a survivor of the war. He was the incarnation of Vayu, the wind god. And he was not able to lift that tail of that monkey. So he tried again, and then after a while, he was thinking, what's going on here? It's not possible. Like, this is not possible. Like, I know I'm the strongest. This is something strange going on here. And he's a titan. It's like Hercules. It's basically like Bheem is like Hercules, a mixed breed, a celestial mixed breed, the strongest, and he can live. What's going on here? So he realizes it's Hanuman. Hanuman is the incarnation of Shiva, like the servant of Ram Chandra. And he realizes, that's Hanuman. And then obviously he gives the obeisances and the respect. And he realizes, okay, I'm not the biggest. I'm not the biggest. I'm not the strongest, Hanuman is bigger than me. Like, I can't even lift the tail of Hanuman. That's the humbling of Bheem. We all get humbled. All of us get humbled. Except those who don't surrender. Yeah, they get something else. So yeah, if you don't surrender, you merge with God. So those are, I think, the two. Again, that's a bit my interpretation. If you surrender to Krishna, then you stay in his relationship of, whichever relationship you have with him, like loving and all that. Now there are 5 relationships: servant, friend, father, or like parent. So like Krishna, God is your child, or a lover, like Gopi. So it's 4. Vatsalya means friend. Dasya means servant. Vatsalya. Madhurya is loving and parental. And 4 relationships. And the Dasya is rather neutral, that's a respectful, that's like what we see in Christianity, a respectful relationship with God. A servant. There's a certain distance, you do your service, you do your work. There's a distance, there's like a boss-employee relationship. But Krishna obviously gives us a choice for all the relationships, and then with time you will find your own relationship with Krishna. And for that I just say, continue your seva. It will come. It comes automatically. And it comes in those bad moments when you lose everything, when you really are able to surrender, when you're humbled. In those moments, it will come where you say, okay, look, I'm yours, Krishna, I'm yours. And then the relationship will come that you have with Krishna, and then it gets real and beautiful. Because you're so messed up, you're so screwed and humbled that you then are able to, there's nothing left than Krishna. And then you can have that relationship with him. Because otherwise, as long as life is good, you have your job, you have your family, you have things going on, which keep you busy, more important things than Krishna. And then we're distracted, and we do our seva, but kind of at the side, we have Krishna on the side. But in the moment of loss, then Krishna is the main thing, it's the only thing left. And then we are able to have a relation, or find our relationship with Krishna. Yeah, good luck, huh? So, sorry, we're talking about... Well, we were talking about Krishna doing so we call it unethical things. It's not the right word, but kind of cheating things. I don't know the word. I mean, I'll describe it. So, for example, humbling. I would be humbling. Yes, putting that woman in front of Arjuna. And then Karna was their kind of half brother, right? Same mother, which is Kunti. He was actually the first, and she got the mantra from Durvasa Muni, which we already talked about. Durvasa Muni gave her the mantra. She served him as a child. He was very happy with her, and he said, I give you a mantra. A mantra is a formula, like a prayer. With this, you can call any deva, like any god, like the inferior gods. And so she called the sun god first. She tried him. And he came and he said, that's in Shrimad Bhagavatam. You know, as you called me now, it has to be for a reason. You can't just call me like this. I want to have a child with you. And she said, no, I'm young. I can't do that. I'm not married. It's like we can't do with children. Like he said, no, we have to. He kind of convinced her, and he said, I'll make you a virgin again. And yeah. So she. And you give birth through the ear. I think so he impregnated her. So they have made love together. And then Karna was born from her ear, so she kept her virginity. And that's why Karna means actually ear. He was born from the ear. And his city is called Karnal, which is between Delhi and Chandigarh. And they have a Shiva lingam there, which was worshipped by Karna himself. And it was broken, it had a crack. And when they tried to dispose of it, lots of snakes came to prevent that from happening. So that's still there. So, it's a magical things like... These are 5,000 years old Shiva lingam, right? And it's still... So yeah, crazy things. It's India, right? It's all there, like, the proofs, if you like. If you need proofs, you just go there and see for yourself, experience it yourself. There are also cities called after apsaras, apsaras are like dancing ladies, like, how's it called, like, some call them like prostitutes, like celestial, like heavenly damsels. Yeah, I can see those places still. Kind of curious, you always drive through them when you go from Karnal to Chandigarh. I was sometimes thinking of getting out there and having a look. Crazy things. Have a look, at least. Maybe we'll find there something interesting. Some temple or some Shiva lingam or anything, something. There were stories there, and all those places are full of stories and secrets, and so take your camera, go to those places and record and share. What were we talking about? So we were talking about Karna. Karna was adopted. So his mom then put him in the river and let him flow down. He was adopted by a charioteer, and a charioteer, those are not kings. Those are inferior castes. So they're not really allowed to fight. but the evil king Duryodhan took every king he could for his own cause to basically take over everything, and he was taking on Karna as a friend, so they were friends. He took all the underdogs to make a strong army, and Karna was loyal to him, and so he was fighting against his brothers, which were the 5 Pandavas, and his mom Kunti knew it because he was born with a breastplate, a golden breastplate, and I think some earrings, and that was his blessing. So he was invincible, like nobody could kill him. He was the son of the god, of the son of the sun god. He was invincible. There's no way to kill him. And there's several things. I don't know where I read that. I think it's in Brahma Vaivart Puran. That's a crazy thing. In the story with Krishna, the hero is Arjuna, which is an incarnation of Indra. Indra is the rain god. And the sun god Surya is Karna, which is the anti-hero, right? He's the villain, the bad guy who has to die. And he's actually stronger than the Indra. Yes. And in the story of Ramachandra, it was exactly the other way around. And I'm not sure if there was a curse or there's a reason for that. There's a story behind that. So there was, I think, a conflict between, again, 2 of them. And then it was decided, once I will be the hero, you will be the villain. And the other time it's the other way around. I will be the hero and you will be the villain, right? And in the story of Ramachandra, both of them are there again. And I don't know which one is which. Like, I think Jambavan was he the good king? I think Jambavan was the good king. So that might be Surya. And the evil king was Bali. Bali was I think he was a monkey king, the bad monkey king, who was then killed. And I think that could be one of them. I'm not. Yeah, it's there in the scripture, but I'm just saying. There's that dynamic going on of one having to be the villain in one Leela, in the Ram Leela, and in the Krishna Leela, the other one is the villain and the other is the hero, right? Again, see, all those stories, they kind of mess up our brain, but they also give us a perspective, they give us thoughts, they kind of question everything and make it kind of non-judgmental. You can't judge anybody. You can't judge the bad ones. You can't judge the villains, really. It's all a bit messed up, and there's always a reason why things are like that, and the next time it's the other way around for no reason. You see this. So, and I think take that for your life. Sometimes you are the hero, sometimes you're the victim, sometimes you enjoy, sometimes you suffer. It's like a season. It's an up and down. There's no reason for that. There's no reason really why you have to suffer or sometimes you have to enjoy. It's just like summer and winter. It just comes and goes. And that's what Krishna and also Bhagavad Gita wants to tell us. To be equal in the good and in the bad. Sometimes you're the bad, you're the evil, you're the perpetrator, you're you're guilty. You're the one who hits, or abuses, and sometimes you're the bad, sometimes you're the good. It's just, you can't judge it. It's and you should be equal in that. You should equal in both situations. Now, it's not about justifying anything. It's just to be equal in both situations and not to judge and criticize and all that. And if you do it, again, you lose your soft-heartedness and the tears when you chant for Krishna, like his name, as a devotee. If you judge and criticize his devotees, then you lose your ability to cry for Krishna when you chant, right? So just think, who did you hurt? Who did you judge? Who did you criticize? And I'm not quite sure what you have to do then, if you have to go there and ask for forgiveness, or just pray for forgiveness. But yeah, we have to, it's just that humbleness. It's about the humbleness. It's nice, isn't it? And that's what it is about. Bhagavad Gita is a little bit difficult to understand, and it's only 3 hours to listen to. It's on YouTube. Within 3 hours you can listen to the whole Bhagavad Gita. It was probably spoken within 1 hour or 2 hours. And it was spoken on the one of the shortest days of the year, on the beginning of the Kurukshetra war. It's in December. Bhagavad Gita Jayanti, it's called. Gita Jayanti is a fasting day. We should fast that day. It's a good, and then obviously read. Yeah. I'm not sure if it's also an Ekadashi. And Ekadashi is again a very special thing, a special fasting. Important for Radharani. So we do the Ekadashis. If you hold Ekadashis, you gain Krishna. It's a way of receiving Krishna in the direction, like in the lineage of Radharani. The different ways. The one is the way of those who worship Katyayani, and then they fast on eating khichdi, make a form of Katyayani. That's a different way. And one way that's in Shrimad Bhagavatam. And then there's a different way, I think that's in Garga Samhita, beautiful. I mean, it's a story of Durvasa Muni and Krishna and the gopis, where he says Krishna is a celibate who's not after girls. That's from Garga Samhita. Beautiful, beautiful stories. Okay, I think I have to wind it up now. Or pray for longer stamina. What was I talking about? Goodness. Maybe I have to stop here. I have an urge to go to the washroom. Okay, let me stop. You can, put the questions. It was a run over. I was jumping from one to the other. It's how I am. I think it's, if you look at Shrimad Bhagavatam, it is also like this, stories into stories into stories. Panchatantra, another like children's storybooks about politics, how you lose friends, how you win friends. It's also like this. It just stimulates the brain. Can be something good. I wish you all the best. Radhe Radhe. Keep in touch. Ask questions. Read the scriptures. Surrender to Krishna. Surrender to Krishna. Okay. Jai Shri Krishna. I love you all. Radhe Radhe.